Okay, good morning. Today I've got Vishal Kapoor. He's a fellow realtor from my office, Century 21 Miller. He's also a senior director at large with the Oakville-Milton District Real Estate Board. And I thought it'd be great to connect with somebody from the office as I haven't been in there in a few weeks or so. I'm guessing you haven't either, Vish. But, anyway, today we're just going to chat a bit about what each of us are experiencing, and also given Vish has a position with the Oakville board, I think he'll be able to give us a bit of an update on what's happening from the board side of things, and maybe that's a good place to start. So Vish, what's the board doing to try and keep not only sellers and potential buyers safe, but of course also realtors as well?
John, thank you for inviting me for this discussion. Just wonderful. It's always good to interact with you. So what board is doing is, if you remember, the Oakville, Milton, and District Real Estate Board were the first one who come out with no open houses, right? So they were looking to the safety for both realtors as well as the clients. Because open houses, people come, they're touching things, they want to look and kid and everything. So those are the ones, even before the Ontario regulation came out with, or CREA came out with, they already put that in place. So the board was proactive. There was some resistance, just like anything from realtors, how those things going to happen, but we were the one to push forward because we thought this is important and this is necessary. So yeah, that's what we did. And on top of that, we always have to look in the alternative. If it's not there, the choices are, right? You cannot just shut down few things because first of all, in realtors, real estate is an essential services. Right. People in midst of doing a transaction, people have done the transactions, their closings happening. They might have the second visit or third visit they have to do. They might have to do the home inspection, right? So we implemented on that at the same time. We're going with the pace is alternative to virtual showings. There's virtual showings through interactive 3D walkout. People doing videos and pictures and slideshows and everything, but it's nothing like that. If somebody is showing to you and describing you what the property look like when you cannot see from your, you're not physically not there, right?
Right.
So that's what happened. In virtual showings, now you can have a Facebook Live link, or you can the Zoom link over there where you can do the virtual showing in your client, right? I personally did the home inspection. I think Mark was working with you as well. And me and Mark did it. And we already told our clients, for your safety, you have to allow us to go there and do the inspection and report back to you how things are. And clients were, they were okay with that. And that's what I did because they were busy. So we took all the video, what's going on, what is right, what they should look for, and we did the video and we sent it to clients. So examples like that, we doing it. Last we did the open forum with the realtors, looking into what their concerns are, right? What and what their successes are, what they're trying and what's working for them.
Right.
So yeah, lots of things are happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to be safe, right? So, sure. Even if some of these things are inconvenient, or at least a change from what used to be business as normal, and now we're developing a new normal and new ways to do things, it's all possible. And that was my chat with Mo at Sold Right Away the other day, really kind of highlighted, I think, for anybody that watched that video, just how much every component of marketing and showing that property can be done virtually. And even if it's not technology that you're familiar with, I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to learn it because, it's a pandemic now, and and you're going to have to, because you can't do it how you used to.
Right.
So, it's a change, but I think what's interesting, and I believe that after this is all done, hopefully sooner than later, that a lot of the new practices and ways to accomplish our jobs will become a bit of a new normal, and that things like virtual showings will be more common, even if we don't have to do it virtually. I know I've had a client, for example, this was 2.5, probably at least 2.5 years ago. Before any of this happened, they were on vacation in Thailand and had a very specific criteria for what they wanted. And lo and behold, no sooner do they land in Thailand does the property that they were interested in hit the market. And so we did everything virtually. And they bought that property before stepping foot in it. They'd seen others like it, so it wasn't, they knew what they were getting into. I went to the property without them, obviously, and we used FaceTime because of time differences. We were meeting and chatting about it and doing paperwork at like 4 a.m. But everything's possible, and so I think that going forward, these are going to be things we utilize going forward. Virtual showings are, I've done a couple of them, and it's different, but at the end of the day, we can still accomplish our goals. And like I said a few moments ago, everybody wants to stay safe, including the sellers and the buyers. So what's an inconvenience is if it means safety and everybody's okay.
Well, we're in the new world, right? So I was saying that these things were in the horizon, for 5 years, these things, like a new technology and everything are going to come. We already know virtual showings and everything was already existed, but there's a lot of realtors like us, people who were working from a traditional way from a long time, and the change is always hard, right? So they were thinking about it, but never they did because they didn't have a courage or they didn't have a time. They're too busy. They're not thinking ahead. And those are the ones who started learning now, because people like you and me who were already adapted those things.
Yeah.
For us, it's not much of a difference. We were already doing it. We're just enhancing it more and making it more comfortable for our clients. So, like I said, people who survive, who can adapt. If they don't adapt, then that's really hard for them.
Yeah, it was interesting when I was talking with Mark Ellison, the home coach. He was saying, Mark, obviously, he's a pretty outgoing, social guy, and he has a lot of fun with clients when he does home inspections, and the realtor too. It's usually a pretty good afternoon or morning or
right,
whenever you're seeing him. But that was one of the things that he commented was the most different. The job and the task at hand he could easily accomplish without the client there. But he missed the social interaction of it. And I think that's where, utilizing, Zoom like we are right now and getting on the phone and utilizing whatever tools you have available to stay connected is going to be really important.
Well, the one most important thing is in any of those scenarios is what relationship you have with your client.
Right.
So if you have the great relationship with them and they trust you, they will do anything you say to them or you advise to them. I was just meeting last night, the Zoom meeting with my client, who are first-time home buyers, and they never experienced what the process looked like, right? So they were sending me the properties, and still they're sending because they have the money sitting and they want to invest. So they're reaching out to me and say, I'll take every advice you give. And based on their scenarios, I advise them, hold on, right now, don't buy, right?
Because if you don't have to do anything right now, I agree. Chances are you're probably better to hold off a little bit. Unless you're in a position where you've already sold and you've got a closing date coming up and you've got to start getting serious about making that next.
But even on the buying side, I say it depends on person's situation, where they are, how comfortable they are, because everybody's at the different, financial situations, different, life situations. And so based on like where they are, that's why like it's come very important when they talking to a realtor who work as a consultant for them and give advice based on their condition. So it's not like the once all kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree completely.
You have to cater. Yeah, you have to cater with the audience, like, because I know you have the investor clients. You're probably giving the different advice to them what you give advice to your first-time home buyers, right?
Oh, for sure.
People who are downsizing, right? Because this is going to be a big thing for a lot of people who are verge of retiring or were retiring, and they were thinking of like a downsizing. So for them, it will be like a different advice. So that's what I said.
Well, I think certain clients, like a first-time buyer, for example,
right?
They don't already have a house to sell.
Correct.
Investors, they're usually just looking to purchase. So it's one side of the equation. But you take a client, who's looking to downsize, like you just mentioned. They've got a house to sell, and they need to purchase something. So now you've got to try and coordinate two transactions potentially during it, or at least two, maybe more, depending on what they're downsizing from. But you've got to coordinate more, at least one or more transactions in a time when the sale might be slow.
And that's okay, because that's why we're here for, right?
Yeah. You take each case as it is, and you evaluate it on a case-by-case basis, just like the banks are saying with mortgage deferrals. But what I find interesting, and I was doing a bit of homework over the weekend for a client in the Hamilton area, and so I ran a few reports, and this is just anecdotal. This is not, they would require more analysis. But I wanted to see, in addition to the comps that I had pulled, I wanted to see what the last 7 days in Hamilton looked like, and I just put in Hamilton region, so I would have enough examples to look at. So that would be, that would include Dundas and Ancaster and Waterdown and Stony Creek, and in the 7-day window that I looked at over the last week, there was 109 new listings, and then if you added the conditional sales, there was, I think, 19 of them. No, there was a little more than that.
Yeah,
80. There's 80 pending, and I guess about 29 that were conditionals. So if you add the conditionals and the pending together, sure, some of the conditionals may fall apart, but at least it shows that, if they are conditional, it shows there's activity on the property.
Yeah.
What you had was, I think it was about 109 or 108 new listings and 109 or 108 sold pending or conditional. That's balanced. That's equal. You had almost the same number of properties that were selling as you did new listings in that same week. And the other interesting part was that of those properties, the sold properties, that is, they were averaging just over 99% of the asking price.
Right.
Now, that's going to be a different story in every community. Obviously, if I ran a similar report for Oakville, for example, I think the numbers.
I did actually. I did that report, and I'm watching it every day because few of my clients, they want to purchase in Oakville. So I'm keeping an eye on that. And the interesting thing, just like you said, nothing gone less than 97%. And like a 97%, that's normal, right?
Completely normal. I think what's happening, though, if you look at the average sale prices, people, if you're coming to market now, you've got to be a little sharper in the pricing. So chances are the average sale price is off a little bit, maybe even 5 points, maybe not, depending on the price point, location, and what type of property it is. But what's interesting is when you contrast, your experience running those numbers in Oakville just the other day, and myself doing it in Hamilton, and you look at the headlines, in the news stories, and you look at the comments on the articles, and so far, the activity, certainly the volume is not what we would normally expect. Sure, sales numbers are down.
Right.
But sales are still happening, and they're happening pretty regularly. I had a client reach out about a property in Hamilton a few days ago, I guess almost a week ago now. It sold in 3 days over asking last week.
Yeah.
So it's still happening. The market hasn't crashed, and the opportunities are still out there, provided employment is stable. Obviously, the lenders are going to be looking closely at that. If your situation dictates that making the move right now is viable, I think there is opportunity for some folks. One thing I wanted to get to, actually, since
Sure.
Liz from our office manager, broker manager, couldn't join us today. I want to talk about how the brokerage. I've spoken, and I think you have as well, over other Zoom calls, with a number of professionals across our industry who have talked about how their pieces of the puzzle can be handled remotely or virtually, and at very least safely. But our office, you and I, we work for a great office.
Yeah, we do.
Miller and Century 21 Miller, and they've taken this very, very seriously, and I'm really happy to have seen how we've handled it. But all deposits are wire transfer or EFT. A lot of work from home and in virtual meetings just like this. I think it's important to know that even the simple act of putting in a deposit afterwards, after you've negotiated the offer and signed the last line on the document, even that can be done remotely. And that's something that obviously could have been done, that way previously, but it wasn't the norm. Usually you went and got a bank draft and you physically drove it to the office, or your agent did, and so buyers don't have to do that anymore. Just contact your bank and we can provide the information for that. So
it's funny thing is about those things. I've this year, a 3 or 4 transaction which I have done. Out of a 4, there's 3 ones they were not doing it, but when I approached them, and a direct deposit, because one brokerage was in Markham and the other one is in Welland area, and driving over there just to deposit a check, it was thing. So I was, and my clients was in a tight timeline. Everything was like a timeline because busy, and we able to do the transaction. So I said wow, we already done that. It make it so simple. We just make it a little bit like a traditional way. We make it complicated, right? So solutions are already there. The one thing I like about our brokerage is in the being in the Century 21, soon this all started, they already created the webinars, they already created those Zoom meetings, and that's so encouraging to see that. Keep us motivated, keep it simple, to keep it grounded, as well as equipping us with all the tools we required to keep on doing our business, what we do.
Yeah.
Right? So
we've been kind of harping on this a little bit about how every piece of the puzzle can be handled
right
remotely, and the tools are all in place. But as you said, with wire transfer for deposits on recent transactions, even before this, you were already utilizing it. So was I. I would estimate at least a third of my deals, the deposit's been done by wire transfer, just to save everybody time and a trip to wherever the brokerage may be. And it's impressive that all of these things individually, when you look at them, can be done remotely. But when you take every piece of the puzzle and you put them all together in that fashion, it's kind of amazing, I think, that for such a hands-on industry, typically, that we can still accomplish our goals and the goals of our buyer clients and our seller clients and investors in a safe and secure manner. I think that's something that's impressive, and I think that we're all, as I said earlier, I think we're going to use this going forward much more than we have to date.
Oh, for sure. That's what push us to. This is a new normal, and that we have to be comfortable with it. It will definitely changing the mindset. It always take time, and in terms of the sellers and buyers, I'm surprised to see that. Frankly speaking, especially the first-time home buyers, and they coming and say, we're ready. Would you able to show us? Or would you able to tell some properties, right? How we can arrange that, and those kind of questions coming out, which is encouraging to see the people out there and who are adapting. And most of my clients actually are professionals. So they're either working in the IT company or they're working with the, big fours. And because they're already doing this virtually beforehand, they are more comfortable. So it's just depending upon like which sector they have worked, and if they know how these things work, it make it easier. But it also
you make a good point.
Like this.
You make a good point. Anybody who works in any kind of corporate environment right now, I'm sure things like e-learning and meeting remotely and working from home and people that travel for business and still have to stay connected, they've been utilizing tools to handle various components of their work remotely for years. I did before I got into real estate a few years ago. So, it's all possible, and I think, as I said, it's going to stay that way.
Yeah.
One thing I'm curious to know myself, I've been doing a lot in my local community to stay connected and still try to meet new people, whether it be neighbors or local businesses. We got a great deal on flowers. We gave away free flowers.
I saw that. That was wonderful.
I repurposed my open house A-frame and put a free flowers sign at the front of our walkway. And we gave away over about 3 day or 3 or 4 days, we gave away over 50 plants.
Oh, nice.
I included a little piece inside the package that mentioned what I do, of course.
Right.
But local businesses, I'm in Dundas and in Dundas, it's part of Hamilton but at the same time, it still kind of has a small town feel to it. I mean, it is a small town. And so we've got the main street with all the shops and restaurants and many of them have been there for years and years and years, but others not as long. And regardless of how long they've been there, some are really feeling the pain of not being essential or only being able to do takeout. So I kind of took it upon myself to I bought up a whole bunch of gift cards, not real expensive ones, but $10, $20. I bought several. It's hundreds of dollars I've spent on that, and I thought there's so many people that could use the help.
Right.
Either they're just they're in need. Maybe they're not able to get out as much because of mobility reasons. And then there's the essential workers, everybody from, somebody working at the local grocery store to obviously nurses and those working in retirement homes and truck drivers, whoever. I thought it'd be a great way to kind of give back a little bit. And so I've been basically on an Instagram page I have specific to the community here.
Yeah.
And, imploring people to reach out, saying, hey, if you know anybody who could use one, just reach out. That's the only criteria.
Well, John, you're a nice guy. Anybody knows, right?
Have you been seeing a lot of that, in Oakville and in other parts where you might be spending more time?
Yes. So in my community over here, in the North Oakville,
Preserve, right?
Preserve area, where I live. And we have the small businesses who just opened up 3-4 years ago in this area. And, in the start, it's really hard, in the small shops. There's a restaurant out there, there's a hairdressers, all that's a small one over here. So the one thing which happened, because it's good to connect it with the officials. And because I connected with the town councilor, what happened is she said, who do you know, small businesses who need some help? I'm like, wow, that's great. So I reach out to these people who I can think of, who I know, they know me, because you're reaching out to somebody who you don't know. That's kind of weird for them. But at the same time, even people don't. So I reach out to them and say, and just listening to them, what they're going through. And then I give that voluntarily name to the town councilor. Guess what? The town has created the task force. And these task force is reaching out to them and providing in all the tools required for them, advice and tools provided to, to protect them as much they can, because there's a lot of government programs out there and they are not familiar with stuff, because some of the small people, they might have a local accountant who's not the business. They might not have somebody who can paying rent right now. It's a huge thing. So how they can apply for that rent subsidy?
Yeah, it's tough. I met one of the local businesses in town here in Dundas as the Pita Pit franchisee, and the Pita Pit, the owner, franchisee, he just took over that store. He bought out the previous owner recently, and they only about a month and a half ago took over the location nearest me, and. Can you imagine the timing of taking over a new franchise? You've just spent a whole bunch of money to buy in the business, and now you're in a pandemic and you can't open except for takeout. Now, I think most of their clientele that would take out anyway.
Right.
However, most people are staying home.
Yeah.
I can say we've certainly cooked more meals, I think, than we've ever cooked in the last month and a half. So, people aren't going out as much, and if you're not out and about running around, even the quick service places where you would normally take the food to go anyway.
Right.
Usually, those are the kind of places you visit while you're running around town doing errands. But if you're not running around town doing errands, you're not going there either.
Well, I was just calculating.
He's seen a big drop in his business, and
for sure.
I really feel for people like that because it's tough.
Well, you can look into that, right? Because I was just doing my finances and looking into my expenses and everything, because every month everybody should be looking at.
Yeah.
And turn out like my expenses gone than half actually, because now I'm not going out. I'm not using my car, so I'm not spending on gas. I'm picking up coffee from Tim Hortons or Starbucks. Not going for lunches. Not going for a job or taking out and all that stuff. Like it adds up.
You're not shopping as much.
You're not shopping as much, right? So that much amount I save like the expenses. At the same time, looking at how much business just personally myself out from the market.
And when you add that up and you compound that, everybody not contributing as much as they may have normally to the local economy, it makes a big dent. And I know businesses around me are feeling it. The Pita Pit example I just gave you. There's another place, a coffee shop. I actually know the guy that owns the building, and he was telling me that revenues are down 80-90%. And, can you imagine operating on 10%? I mean, the reality is you and I are probably doing the same thing. Given, the volume in our business is down, we're certainly slower.
Right.
But, it's an interesting time.
It is like a tough, but also looking into, people getting creative with that kind of stuff, and they adopting the newer way of doing it. Still people figuring out stuff, thanks to government, they infuse so much money in there, but it's also think about that, it depends upon how long this lasts. They cannot keep on printing money, right?
No, we'll be paying for it for a long time.
Yeah, they're going to, and ultimately it's going to happen is what's going to happen is who's going to pay? It's we going to pay. So it's basically everything is nothing is free. It's all deferred at this moment, right? So until we find the new normal.
Well, I look forward to the new normal, and I look forward to getting back to being a bit busier, as I'm sure you do. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining me today, Vish. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
That's good to see you as well. And good haircut, right? Nice haircut.
You as well. I got one a couple of weeks ago, and I think I'm due for a bit of a trim. But you've gone for the beard. I haven't done that.
No, I had the beard before. I just make it a little bit short because I was about to shave, but my daughters, I say, no, I cannot imagine you without beard anymore. I'm like, what? So it just it's just there.
Well, growing up when I was young, my dad always had a mustache.
Oh yeah,
a big one.
Yeah,
and one day he decided to get rid of it, and he looked totally different. But you get used to it. Now I can't imagine him with it.
Right.
So
that's right.
It's funny though, when he got rid of it, I think a lot of people told him he looked like 10 years younger. So he he kept it off, but I don't know. It's funny. You watch all these videos that people put up or pictures they post, right now, because I think people are a little busier on social media these days.
Yeah.
Posting pictures of their hair or their beard or whatever, and it seems a lot of people are maybe not shaving as much lately.
But the other thing is, like, this is the time, like, and everybody's free. Nobody's judging anyone.
No, it doesn't matter at all.
That's the one. That's the one great thing. And the other thing is, like, I found people are more connected now because they're craving for it. Like, they're missing that human, touch. Like, weekend. Like, my weekend gets so busy.
Yeah.
Because of my family, they want to get together on Zoom meeting, and then I have also my friend get on Zoom meeting. So my whole day was chatting with them and the clients. So we're doing it the group chat and coming with the things, discussing things. It's which is fantastic. So I think, like, we still stay connected, and that's a lesson. And that's also we're going back to basics. That's a big lesson from this.
Yeah, I think so. I think during these times, I've been able to connect with, I think, more new people in my community during a pandemic than I did before the pandemic. Meeting new business owners in town, and sure, we're doing it safely, but the reality is I've got a lot of new connections that I've made just over the last month or so, and who knows, I probably would have encountered them somehow, some way, if I was busier, but now I've got the time to devote to that kind of stuff, and
for sure.
And I think it's been kind of rewarding, and it's always nice to get connected with people, but yeah, well, anyway, Vish, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I do appreciate you joining me today, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. And stay safe out there.
You too, John. Thank you very much, and stay safe.
All right. Thanks, Vish.
Right.
See ya.
Take care. Bye.